I'd like to give all glory and praise and honor unto the Most High, and we're gonna get into it, man. And today we're gonna be talking about the firstborn created. So maybe about 5 months ago, I did a video, on explaining that Yeshua Hamashiach is God. But after I finished the video, I realized I had left this one verse out. I meant to put it in there, but I left it out by mistake. And after I finished, I was like, oh man, whatever, man. I'm just gonna upload it. But I want to come back to it today and explain it because there's still a lot of people out there that think that Yeshua Mashiach was a created being. So we're gonna be explaining what firstborn created means. That verse in Colossians. So let's get into it. So we try to make this quick, not too long. So let's get into it, man. Colossians chapter 1, verse 14 through 17. In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. For who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. So this firstborn of every creature in this specific verse right here, in this context right here, it doesn't mean that he was created, like, how me and you were created, like how he created the animals, things like that, the trees, he always existed, for eternity. He's eternal. This firstborn, man, is talking about rank. It's talking about superiority, superiority, man. That's what it's talking about. He's number one. Nothing else comes before him. The firstborn of every creature, man. It doesn't mean he was created. A lot of people, they read this and they think that he was created. He's a created being. He was not. Right here, verse 16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things. See that? He's before all things, and by him all things consist, man. It doesn't mean he was created in this specific context right here in this verse. Now you have, you see firstborn pop up in the scriptures a lot, but in this specific verse right here, it's not talking about that type of firstborn. So when you look up firstborn in the Strong Concordance, this word comes up, man. Prototokos. The word firstborn, the Greek word prototokos, signifies priority. In the culture of the ancient Near East, the firstborn was not necessarily the oldest child. The firstborn referred not to birth order, but to rank. The firstborn possessed the inheritance and leadership. You feel me? So that's what this was about. Like I was saying, that firstborn that is talking about in Colossians, firstborn created, that specific verse is talking about rank. It's talking about superiority, man. That's what it's talking about. Now you have, for example, when you look at, let's bring this up. Psalms 89:27. I will also make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth, man. What does this mean right here? This is talking about King David right here. Now, my question to you is, was King David the firstborn, out of his brothers? No, he wasn't. He was the youngest. He was in the back tending to the sheep. But what did the Most High do? He looked over all his brothers and came to him and made him, his firstborn. He made him, priority. He made him superior. He gave him rank. He gave him, status over his brethren, man. So that's what it's talking about, man. I'll make him my firstborn. It was not talking about, him being born first. It's talking about putting him, in a leadership position, man. Rank, superiority, man. Oh, man. For you guys that's to say, it's not talking about David. Psalms 89, right here. What does it say at the top? God's no covenant with David. It's talking about him. I just have to show you that. So naturally, how it's supposed to work out. The eldest one is supposed to receive the inheritance. You know what I mean? The eldest one is supposed to receive the inheritance. And that's what happened with that was what was supposed to happen with Esau and Jacob. But what did the Most High do? It was already written in the womb before they came out. The Most High made Jacob his firstborn, man. That's talking about rank, superiority. It's not talking about him being created. It's talking about rank and superiority. I said in that specific context. Now you have other instances in the Bible where the firstborn means actually exactly what it sounds like, firstborn. You know what I mean? But in these specific in verses, it's talking about rank, man. You know what I mean? Rulership. You mean ruling over somebody, superiority. I'm putting you over them. And that's what happened with Esau and Jacob, man. Esau didn't get the inheritance. Jacob did. David's brothers didn't get that inheritance. The Most High chose him, David, to rule over. Israel. And like I stated before, David was not the firstborn son. He was not the firstborn of his father. Oh man, so in that verse in Colossians when it's talking about Yeshua HaMashiach, it's not talking about him being created. It's talking about him he's just number one. You know what I mean? He's not created. Like how we are. Let's bring up something else real quick. Let's see. Psalms 89 verse 3-4. I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever and build up thy throne to all generations, man. And that was his covenant that he made with him, man. He was the firstborn, of the Most High. Oh man. So when you see that that verse now from that one, you could you could break it down properly, man. Hopefully this was edifying, though. You see that, Colossians, that verse in Colossians where it's talking about, him being the firstborn of all creature. Hold on, let's bring that back up. Here it is right here. You know what I mean? Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist, man. Does that sound like somebody that was created to you? Come on, man. We gotta start, having understanding when we read it, man. This doesn't mean he was created. The image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. He's just number one. There's nothing before him. Doesn't mean he was created like me and you. I know I'm deep beating a dead horse right now. So with the Most High, he could, skip that. He could skip that order, man. You see that he did it with, Aaron and Moses. Aaron was the older brother, but the Most High chose Moses. You look at, Cain and Abel. The Most High favored Abel. So, hopefully this is edifying, man. The Most High appoints who he wants to appoint, man. It don't matter, if you're the oldest or not. If the Most High said, nah, it's him that I want. That's the one that's going to be, elevated, man. So, hopefully this is edifying, man. All praise to the Most High.